In this video I am going to explain glucose in detail. In my previous video that was based on biomolecule, in that video I have explained that biomolecule is one of the most important part of chemistry. Standard 12 class students, it is for standard 12 class students, and direct question will come from this part. And I have explained that biomolecules is a natural polymers, you can say naturally occurring organic compounds, and there are different types of biomolecules like carbohydrates, protein, fat, vitamins, nucleic acid. All these are examples of biomolecules. I explained that carbohydrates is a biomolecule, its formula is CxH2OY, or you can say that carbohydrate is the hydrates of carbon, and this carbohydrate present in three form, or we can classify it's on the three part. First, on the basis of hydrolysis, it is classified as monosaccharide, disaccharide and polysaccharide, whereas on the basis of reduction, it is classified as reducing and non-reducing sugar. And third one is on the basis of number of carbon atom, monosaccharides are classified as triose, tetrose, pentose, hexose, heptose. So one thing here I want to say that if you see the board question, then you find that the first question that commonly asked in the board exam, it is based on disaccharides. That means what are the products of disaccharides? If disaccharides is hydrolyzed, what are the products? Suppose if question is that find monosaccharides of the following. This is very important question. You just see the question paper pattern of the question. Suppose first is the sucrose, second is the maltose, third is the lactose. This is these all the three are disaccharide. Sucrose, it is a cane sugar. It hydrolyzes to give glucose and fructose. This will hydrolyze to give glucose and glucose. This will hydrolyze to give glucose and galactose. So the first question will be asked from this part, that is the disaccharide part. Second question will be asked from reducing and non-reducing sugar, that is identify which one is reducing sugar. Suppose the first is the glucose, fructose, lactose, maltose, sucrose, starch, cellulose, glycogen. So in this part I have already explained, this is very important part. I am just reading the points from where questions may be asked. So in this case, all monosaccharides are reducing sugar. They will reduce tolerance reagent and Felix solution. And I have already explained that glucose, if we see the structure of glucose or fructose, then we find that glucose has free aldehyde group. So the reducing nature of the glucose is the property of aldehyde group which reduce Fleming test and tolerance test. So here all monosaccharide, that means this is reducing sugar, this is reducing sugar. Then here three disaccharides are there, Remember, lactose and maltose are also reducing sugar because they have free functional group, aldehyde or ketonic group. This is not reducing sugar. So out of these three disaccharides are commonly used, and it is given in NCERT book also. So out of three disaccharides, sucrose is the only disaccharide that is not used for reducing sugar. Or the exact reason I will explain when I will explain the structure of sucrose. All polysaccharides are non-reducing sugar. All polysaccharides are non-reducing sugar. So in this case, you will say that glucose, fructose, lactose, maltose, they all are reducing sugar, whereas sucrose is non-reducing sugar, starch is non-reducing sugar, cellulose is non-reducing sugar, glycogen is non-reducing sugar. Third question that will be asked, it is based on a structure of glucose. A very important concept that I am going to introduce, that is glucose. So we have already collected many information related with glucose. The first information is it is a monosaccharide. The first very important information is it is a monosaccharide. It is also called aldohexose. It is also called dextrose. Its molecular formula is C6H12O6. So these are the information that we obtain from glucose. We can say it is obtained from fruits, especially grapes, honey. The sweetness of the fruits and honey is due to presence of glucose also. You can say that it is the digested product, a final product or the end product of digestion. This is that means living organisms, you can say heterotrophs. Plants produce carbohydrates in the form of glucose. That glucose it stores in the form of starch. So animal use that glucose, that carbohydrate in the form of starch. So that starch is present in the complex form. So when we take food, we take a starch, and that complex food is converted into simple food, that is glucose. So this process is called digestion. What is digestion? Digestion is a process in which complex food is converted into simple food with the help of digestive enzymes. And for carbohydrates, we use enzymes amylase, sucrase, maltase, lactase. These are the enzymes that are going to be used. I will explain that topic when I introduce biology part, nutrition part. But here, the only one thing you have to remember, that animals consumes food in the form of a starch, and that starch which is finally broken to glucose. That glucose we use to get energy in that glucose is, you can say it, respiration is going on, that is breakdown of glucose takes place in presence of, it breaks to give CO2, H2O and energy. And the excess glucose that we have in our body, that excess glucose is converted into in the form of glycogen. Very important information. So plants store food is starch, whereas animals store food is glycogen. We store food in the form of glycogen. This glucose to glycogen is called glycogenesis, and the reversal is glycogenolysis. When we need glucose, when there is a deficiency of glucose in our body, on that time this glycogen breaks to give glucose. So these are the information about the glucose. But the main important point is the structure of the glucose. If you understand, if I will explain this topic, then students will be able to explain the first information that a student will get, a structure, that is open chain structure of glucose. Very important. structure of glucose. Glucose has two structure. First is open chain and second is cyclic. So in this part, in this video, I am going to explain open chain. Second information students will get how you can say that glucose has 6 carbon and they are attached in a straight chain form. That is presence of a straight chain carbon, and that is the 6 in number in glucose. That is very important information that I am going to explain. Third, how can you say that glucose has aldehyde group? Here I have explained that glucose is reducing sugar because it gives Felling's test, it gives Tollens test. Felling's test and Tollens test is the property of aldehyde group, it is a ketonic group. Free aldehydes and ketones give this test. So, by how can you say that glucose has aldehyde group? So, presence of aldehyde group, very important information, presence of aldehyde group. This information we can get from the part that I am going to explain today. So, the first point that when glucose is heated continuously with hydrogen iodide, HI, when glucose is heated continuously with HI, then a hydrocarbon is produced, that is hexane. Hexane is a 6 carbon. So if you write its structure, CHO, CHOH, 4, CH2OH. So if it is prolonged heated with HI, then it gives C6, H40. So this reaction shows that glucose has 6 carbon and it is arranged in a straight chain form. Very important information. How can you say that open chain structure of glucose is this? Glucose has free aldehyde group, then this group, then after that this. This is the open chain structure of the glucose. Then presence of straight chain carbon 6. How can you say? When glucose is heated with HI, then hexane is produced, and this indicates that glucose has 6 carbon. Second reaction is if glucose is treated with a very important information, hydroxyamine. When glucose is heated with hydroxyamine, so reaction of glucose with hydroxylamine, this is very important information. So just I am going to show this CHO, CHOH and CH2OH. So when it is treated with hydroxyamine, we can write hydroxylamine like this. Here you can extend this. Carbonyl group is like this. This is the carbonyl group. Aldehyde group can be represented like this. So actually this part is going to react. When we react with hydroxylamine, it is this part, because when I will explain organic chemistry on that type, I will explain this is a polar bond. So bond will shift like this. Here oxygen will have negative charge and carbon has positive charge. So when we treat it with hydroxylamine, this part comes out as water and the compound that is formed is aldoxin. Very important. a very important compound. I am showing this structure and I am writing this also, this part. By chance if you aldoxy, you will forget this part. Just you remember aldoxine is the product. So this is a very important part, and this reaction indicates that glucose has free aldehyde groups, because unless aldehyde group is present, this product cannot be produced. Alcohol doesn't give this reaction. This reaction is shown by aldehyde group only. If glucose, reaction third, if glucose is reacted with hydrogen cyanide, HCN, here also cyanohydrine is produced, again the same form, we can write this. So here suppose if we react with HCN, HCN will break to H plus and Cn minus. The patterns of the reaction, mind it, reaction is very important part of chemistry, and there are some techniques that you should know, that how which part will attack which carbon, or which part will attack reagent, or which part will attack on carbon and which part will attack on oxygen. So that technique I will give when I will teach you organic chemistry. Here this positive will attack there and negative will attack here. So you will get that. I am just showing, this is H, this is cyanohydrine. So the same product will be developed here. Here H, here OH, here Cn, and CHOH, CH2OH. So this product is glucose cyanohydrine. Very important information. So you can say that this first reaction indicates that glucose has 6 carbon and joined by a straight chain. These two reactions shows that glucose has free aldehyde group, because reaction with hydroxylamine, reaction with HCN is an important property of aldehyde. Then third important reaction of glucose is So the third important reaction of glucose with bromine water. So D, when glucose is reacted with bromine water, it is a powerful oxidizing agent. Oxidizing agents are those agents which oxidizes any compound. That means addition of oxygen takes place. So we can write the structure of glucose, CHO. It is reacted with bromine water. It gives here, this is called gluconic acid. Gluconic acid. So this reaction also confirms that carbonyl group is present in the glucose. Carbonyl is the aldehyde group, because unless aldehyde there will be no carboxylic acid. This is one of the most important part of organic chemistry. If there is a functional group like OH, alcohol group, then alcohol group will oxidize to aldehyde and then carboxylic acid. This is a chain of the reaction. So here this is the important part. Then reaction with nitric acid. Nitric acid is also a very powerful oxidizing agent. So suppose I have taken this gluconic acid also and glucose also. So suppose you take this glucose with HNO3 And here I am using this also with HNO3. In both the cases, a common product is produced. A common product is there. This is a very important information. When we use bromine water, then it gives gluconic acid. Only aldehyde groups turns to carboxylic acid. But when we are going to use concentrate nitric acid, here it turns to saccharic acid. It will turn to saccharic acid. Here 2 carboxylic group. And this is common for glucose as well as for gluconic acid. So this is one of the most important reaction. Mind it, in the board exams, this zone is going to be very important because questions will be asked from this part. So this is the next reaction is anhydride. Reaction with anhydride. This is the product formed when reacted with anhydride. So all these information, all these reactions shows that glucose has 6 carbon, glucose has 6 carbon chain attached by bond, glucose has single bond, glucose has aldehyde groups, free carbonyl group, that is aldehyde group. After that, the next important part that is going to be important from this chapter So here the next important part that is going to be useful is the spatial arrangement of atoms in a glucose. Arrangement of H and OH group, that is going to be very important. D form of the glucose, we use glucose either D plus glucose. Then D form, L form, that is going to be very important. Then cyclic structure of glucose, that is also going to be very important. Which reaction confirms that glucose has cyclic structure also, that is going to be important. Here some questions I want to discuss related with glucose, because once we understand the structure of glucose, then it will be easy to explain the structure of disaccharide and the structure of polysaccharides. So this information is going to be very important. Here the question is that what happened when D-glucose is treated with the following reagent? First with HI. With HI, hexane is produced. With bromine water, gluconic acid is produced. With HNO3, that is nitric acid, saccharic acid is produced. Enumerate the reaction of D-glucose which cannot be explained by its open chain structure. That is going to be very important. That explain the cyclic nature of the glucose. That there are some reaction that is not going to be explained by the open chain structure of the glucose. That will be going to be explained by cyclic structure. So in the next video, I will explain information related with cyclic structure of the glucose and the structure of fructose, then the structure of disaccharides and polysaccharide. All these informations are going to be beneficial for you. So I hope that the information I am giving you, that will be useful to you. And just you check the previous year question, mind it, you go through the sample paper of the CBSE that has already come out, and you will feel that this zone is going to be very important and direct question will be asked from this part. Thank you.